Welcome to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, a homeschool mom, entrepreneur, and educator with over 20 years of experience in the areas of elementary and special education. It's my mission to help you create lifelong learners and embrace a holistic approach to education at home. I'll be sharing practical strategies, inspiration, and resources to support your family. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, or balancing work and homeschool, you're in the right place to connect with a community that values education just as much as you do. Join us each week as we ditch the stress, embrace the joy of learning, and set your family up for a lifetime of success. Hey friend, welcome back to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I'm your host, Christine Furman, your home education expert. And as we begin to wrap up our summer short series, we are going to talk about setting up your learning environment this episode. And let's be honest, these summer short series that I thought were going to be 15, 20 minutes, they actually were normal episode length. And the last episode was probably a double episode because I was talking about our Disney trip. So that one turned into a little bit of a longer episode than I expected because there really was so much to tell. And I do realize that. I realize when I get started talking about all of the things, homeschool related, mom life, or holistic health, or just things that we are doing in our life, or even as a mom in business, there's so much for me to share with you. And as much as I try to condense it down, I clearly have a lot to share. So thank you guys for sticking with me this summer as I brought you a lot of resources on how to get yourself started homeschooling or whatever this new season looks like for you. So that may look like you are educating your kids at home and you are like, what do I do? Where do I get started? Well, the past few episodes, I've really been talking about that. And I will pull all of these episodes together as a playlist. So if that's something that you're interested in these little playlists of saying, oh my goodness, all of these episodes are about educating my kids at home. What do I need to do? Definitely reach out. Send me an email, christine@eduplaylearning.com, and I will share that with you. And then that way you guys are able to have this list and you're able to binge them and listen to all of those episodes related just to starting your education at home with your kids. So today we really are diving into how are we setting this learning environment up, because we are now into August and I have actually had a lot of conversations with moms that are like, whoa, our thoughts on education have changed recently and quickly. And whether we are ready to homeschool, we're going that route. And oh my goodness, I'm scared. Oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. I don't know, what this is going to look like for our family. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I know that we're committed and I know that we're ready to do it, even if not everyone's on board. And that is something that happens, Kids can be on board and the spouses are not on board, or kids aren't on board and the spouses are, or, there's all of these different dynamics. So I want just to share that you're not alone in this journey. And I'm going to share some of the conversations that I've had with moms over the past week, even just this past week. And I'm also going to help you set up this learning environment. How do we get started in our homes? And it is allowed to be easy. It does not have to be so complex as having a whole classroom. Many of you know that I do have an entire classroom. I also tutor out of my home and I educate my kids and I record the videos and have a YouTube channel and create and write curriculum. So yes, my space does look more like a classroom in a sense, but it's the perfect opportunity and the perfect space for our family because I am an educator, because I have so much curriculum that I brought with me from when I was teaching in the classroom. And now I'm able to take all of that experience, all of those resources, and now be able to bring them to you and help you on your journey, wherever that may be. Maybe you are starting off and your kids are 2, 3, and you're like, okay, what do we do? How do I do that? Well, I do have a spot for you to start. Or if you are really just starting the homeschool journey and your kids are a little bit older, I have a way to support you in that journey as well. And everything in between, individual programs or activities. And I was actually just talking to my husband on the way home from our travels. So if you followed me on socials, we were in Pittsburgh for 2 weeks, and then we traveled to Tennessee for a few days. So we were out of our Georgia home for about 3 weeks. And man, did it feel so good to come home and, sleep in your own bed, shower in your own shower, and just be back in your space. Now, don't get me wrong. I love traveling, and it is a true blessing to be able to do all that we do while we're in Pittsburgh, see all the friends and family, experience all the things. And I think maybe next episode, I'll share with you some of the highlights from our Pittsburgh trip, because there were some good ones, and really just some lessons that we can kind of take from that. So I think I'll do that next episode. So stay tuned for some of our Pittsburgh recaps, and all of our traveling that we do. But we are blessed to be able to be home and excited to just be back in our space. And now we are getting into that back to school mode. Kids here in Georgia are starting back to school this upcoming week. So the beginning of August. I know kids in South Carolina, they do more of a year-round school. So even though we're not in school, we still are affected in a way by the schedule, right? Because now all of our activities, right? Ella's not doing dance this year, but they're both doing like American Ninja Warrior. They're both doing piano. Ella's doing voice lessons. All of those things start to pick back up, and we get back into that like back to school routine. So we are excited for that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I was starting to say, like, you could be a mom with toddlers and you just know that you want to give your kids more. And what does that look like in terms of education? And with what I have available, this is really what I was talking about. What I have available is programs, and they can be the full-on program, right? But I also have like a la carte. And you just want to learn about one specific thing, I've got you covered there. Or if you need a tracker, to a curriculum tracker, or your concepts and skills, and you need to write everything down, I've got you covered there. And if you need a calendar routine, I've got you covered. So if you guys are looking for specific things, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's on social media, whether it's here in the show notes, reaching back or checking the show notes and, sending me an email or sending me a message on social media. And I can definitely get those things for you. And then stay tuned, because the website is going to reflect all of this curriculum that I have created over the past 5 years, and how you guys can now be able to have that and be able to use that in your homes as well. So stay tuned for all of that, because this month of August, we definitely have a lot of changes happening. I feel a shift, a very big shift. And I've had a lot of conversations with families recently, or colleagues even, coaches and friends, and that it's like, and I said this to someone and I couldn't quite put my fingers on it. I said, I feel like, or I have tears in my eyes, but I have a smile on my heart. And I was like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what this shift is right now, And, someone said, well, that's like a bittersweet feeling. And I was like, yes. But I know for me, it's like this energy, this boost of like, All right, Lord, I hear you loud and clear, and I am doing what you put me here to do. So I'm excited to share that and continue to share that with you as we continue on this journey. So stick around because there's so much more coming your way, and I'm excited to share it all with you. So let's dive into how can you set up your learning environment? Because when we are in this space of educating our kids, right? Now, you know me, and you know that I say all the time, education happens everywhere. And I firmly believe that. In the car rides, while we're on the boat, right? We went on a boat ride and education was happening there on that boat ride. And I will share that with you next episode. While we went on a hike to an underground waterfall. Education's happening. You can go to the park. I saw a friend went to the park and they were doing a puzzle at the park. Education is happening everywhere. So you don't need to set up a whole space. But hear me when I say, if our primary education is happening at home, right? The core academics are happening at home because EduPlay learning is the perfect blend and balance between that hands-on learning, experiencing life, the traditional academics, and blending that all together with multi-sensory activities, support from a teacher. All of those things come together with EduPlay learning and really being able to blend it all together beautifully to meet the needs of your child. But if we are setting up a space at home, it is a good idea to have a specific designated space in your home with supplies, with the resources that you need, the books that you need, the activities, the games. Okay, so we're going to dive into that. So some simple supplies, definitely pencils. I highly recommend for younger kiddos, the thicker pencils. And then for the, as the kids get older, just regular size pencils. And you can certainly do lead pencils, but I am like a yellow pencil kind of girl. And that's what I send in my activity kits to my students because they just work really well. The kids can hold on to them well, especially the younger kids. I use the thicker pencils for them. You can use thicker crayons. That's why markers work so well for young kids because it's easier for them to hold on to, and even sidewalk chalk. So think about that. Think about the ages of your kids and what materials will work best for them at this specific age and season. And just remember, this is just a season. It's not forever. So keep that in mind too. Crayons, markers, I mentioned that. Paper, have white paper, copy paper. Just go get copy paper. You can even get one ream of it and you have white paper. I have notebooks that I create that are perfect for writing and tracing and letters. You can even pick up some notebooks at the dollar store. And I have some tips for you on how to make it so your kids can easily know where to start and where to stop. So stay tuned in on Instagram, EduPlay Learning, over on Instagram for some of those tips and tricks. Even construction paper is great because I remember when my kids were younger, that 5 years old, they would make so many things out of construction paper. And would they make a mess? Sure. There'd be paper and scraps everywhere, but I really want them to practice cutting. And there's no better way for them to practice cutting than just letting them have paper and cut and create their own creations. So let them be creative, give them tape, give them glue sticks, let them have fun. One of my most favorite that I can think of right now is when they made a safari, and they made like a watering hole, and they made just different things with construction paper. Some other things Alex has made, like they made these big cars with like big wheels. One time, and I'm trying to think what it actually was, but they just put pieces of construction paper together, like long, taped them all together, and then made a circle with it and stood it up. And it was big enough for them to sit inside And they were like, this is my house, or this is my animal's house, or, right? Just like let their imagination go crazy, because that is education. That right there is allowing them to be creative. Art class, check. You can mark that off. And then you can lean into what stories do they want to tell you. So if you do need to get work done, if you are preparing the curriculum, if you are recording a podcast, or just need to wash the dishes, or even just need a break for a few minutes, give them some craft supplies and let them get creative. Okay. So there's a little tangent about just our simple supplies and how it can turn into art lessons. Books. So we have a mini library in our home. From the time they were little, I've been collecting books. Even before I was pregnant and had kids, I've been collecting books. I think that's just the teacher in me, right? If you don't have books, and I think I mentioned before, you can get them at library. You can definitely get them at libraries. So you can definitely figure out what topic you're going to learn about. And if you are a part of any of the EduPlay Learning academies or programs, we do specific topics for the week. So if we're going to be learning about frogs, go to the library and get books on frogs, get videos on frogs, and just really enhance what we're learning about. Because with what I give you, it's just a snapshot. It's a small piece of what you can really dive into with your kids. And you could get tadpoles. You can go to a pond and find tadpoles and have frogs grow from these tadpoles, and your kids can watch the life cycle. And that's the beauty of educating our kids at home, is that we are able to take these topics and go as deep into them as we want. And I saw this post on social media and I thought it was so interesting that someone said, okay, this is the theme that we did, right? We did all about space. And the question was, how long do you take on these themes? Like, I was doing a week, but sometimes I felt like we needed more. And to be honest, I have felt like that, where I go week by week with my collections, and it's like, okay, this week is frog week, or this week is ice cream week. But man, there's so much that we can learn that really these could be 2 weeks. The space theme that this mom was talking about, she and her child, they were so excited about it that she went on for a month with this space theme. And how beautiful is it that we have the opportunity to do that for our kids and say, wow, you're really into this? Let's keep going. Let's keep learning. And you can certainly incorporate your math skills into that space theme. And if you want help on doing that, definitely reach out, because that's something that I love doing, where we take one topic and I just dive into all of these different ideas and ways that you can incorporate math and reading and science and art and social studies and all the things into one specific theme. So definitely keep that in mind if you are looking for that. All right, books, definitely any books that you can find that your kids are interested in. Educational games, that's another thing. Like, I have games that have synonyms and antonyms and different cards that have homophones, and right? So we can teach our kids these skills and these lessons without it being a workbook. And here's a game that we can play. And now show me what you know. What does this word mean? How are we going to use this in a sentence? And sure, we can have an activity sheet to show us and do that paper to pencil. You could definitely do that, so then that way you are seeing what they know. But it doesn't have to be, here's a workbook, sit down, let's do it. It can be fun. It's allowed to be fun. It's allowed to be simple. So continue to stick around. Like I said, my social media is going to start ramping up, because this is the stuff that lights me up. I want to show you guys how I take a simple grammar lesson and turn it into a fun activity and ways that we can make learning fun for our kids. So stick around for that. Another supply that I really think is very important, that's very easy to get. You can get them at the dollar store. are dice. And the reason I say this is because we use dice all the time, especially in math. We can use it for anything, right? But I also use dice for my brain breaks. And you can roll the dice and see how many. Then you're practicing your counting or adding together or whatever you want to do at that time, right? You can multiply. And then whatever the movement is. So there's tons of ideas, tons of activities that you can do with dice. And I think that's a good tool to have. And I just want to throw out, if you are interested in receiving all of these things together, that within the EduPlay learning programs and activity kits and collections, I pull all of this together for you. And then that way, all you have to do is get it in the mail, right? It comes right to your door. Or you get the digital download, and here's the list of all the items. So there's also those. All right, let's really talk about this environment, right? Setting up your environment. Find a specific space. Is that the kitchen table? Is it a specific room? We just have folding tables. I don't have desks. It's allowed to be easy, okay? I have folding tables and folding chairs. I used to have a small, like a toddler size table and chairs. And I will use that for my live events for my younger kiddos. But for my kids now, they're totally big enough to sit in a regular size chair at a regular size table, and they're able to work there. And they know that that's our space when we go to do our academics. We also have a reading area. We have a whole bookshelf full of books. You can have a carpet, right, in that reading area, or oversized pillows, or big stuffed animals. Making that reading nook a special place for them to go to read, a special lamp in that area. And that reading nook doesn't have to be, in your classroom area. It can be in their bedroom. It could be in the living room, and whenever we need a break, you can say, okay, you know what? You're not in trouble. Why don't you just go take a break and go read for a little bit? Oh, I don't like to read, Mom. I know, but go ahead. Just go sit there and see, what books you can find today. And they may, and I know that was something for my kids when I was starting to make dinner, right? That that 4 to 6 p.m. time, right? When they're little, it can be overwhelming, right? As a stay-at-home mom, you're with them all day, and it's like, oh my goodness, they're ready for dinner. I'm not done working, but everyone's ready to eat, and everyone's just acting a little bit stir crazy, right? So I would say, here's some puzzles. Why don't you guys sit down and do these puzzles? 1, it gave them something engaging to do. 2, it was now quiet for me to sit, not sit because I wasn't sitting. I was making dinner. And it just kind of brought this calm to our home. So think about that. Books, puzzles, for that calm that you might need. Think about in your space, specific places for things to go. So for us, I have specific pull-out bins, and they're Monday through Friday. They have a bin where the work is, and then they have a bin where they turn in things. So then that way, and these are things that I had, but I was able to bring them into my home, and I was able to use them in a way that made sense for us. So we don't do a ton of worksheets, but here's a game, or here is a worksheet, right? Here are your word cards for the week. I'm going to put them in Monday. I want you to cut them out, and then I want you to put them in Tuesday, so then that way you can use them for Tuesday. Here's your notebook. Here it is on Monday. Do your spelling, put it in the finished bin, and then I'll look at it and check it, and then it'll go in your Tuesday bin. So stay tuned. I will be sharing a video on that as well, because I think that is a huge part of how we have been able to get a really good flow within our routine. And it's best when they know what's there, right? When everything is planned out, they know what's expected. It's easy for everyone because it's like, boom, 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 we're ready to go to the next thing. And then the best part is the kids know where to go for their work, and they know where to go when it's complete. They love to know where things go. Think about that for any space in your home. Where do the crayons go? Is there a specific bin? If not, have one and say, all the crayons go in this bin. And when you're done with them, they go on this shelf. That's where they go. This is where all of the paper is. This is where all of your Legos go. This is where all of your Transformers go, or all of your dolls go. Having a specific space, right? This doesn't just go for our school supplies. This can go for everything in our home. When we have a specific space, they know exactly where it needs to go. And it just makes it like, okay, I know what to do when I know how to clean this up, and it goes right here. So keep that in mind. Bins, binders are another thing. They can pull their binder out and flip to the pages that they need to complete, or a busy book for toddlers. And I will be showing you how to turn the EduPlay Learning collections into busy books for your toddlers. So you kind of get 2 for 1 there. You get the curriculum, you can teach, but then you get to reinforce it later on with these activities. So that's something that is in the works as well. And we talked about these different learning stations as well. Or here's the art station, right? This is the shelf that has all the paint on it, the crayons, the markers, the paper. So then that way, when they're ready to be creative, they know that they can go to this shelf and grab it. And maybe paint isn't on that shelf because it wasn't on my art shelf for the longest time. It was either up in a closet or it was up on a shelf that was higher that they just knew that they couldn't get to. And you can do that, right? Like, okay, when we do art, I'm going to get the paint down. But if you want to do art, there's all these things you can do. Think about like stickers. Gosh, they love stickers. And just putting those stickers on, fine motor skills right there. Cutting, gluing, all of those things, drawing, all of those things. They're great for their creativity, great for fine motor, and then also their creativity and imagination. And their reading, right? That is so good for them to come up with a story and tell you about that story. So keep that in mind, that it can be reading, it could be math, it could be all those things. Another thing that we have is we have a technology bin. And that may sound silly, but it's like where their tablets go, all the chargers go, any old cameras or anything like that. They go in this bin, and it's like, that's the technology bin. So if you're looking for a cord, it's probably in that bin. And if it's not in that bin, you didn't put it where it was supposed to be, you know? So then it kind of takes that responsibility off you as well, saying like, oh, Mom, I don't know where this is. Well, here's where you should look. And if it's not there, why is it not there, right? So keeping those things in mind, you can use that, different programs. You can even have, like, if you have a computer, an iPad just for specific apps, putting that iPad there and having like a rotating schedule and saying like, okay, for the technology bin, or your time, you know, maybe you have independent time, you need to do this educational activity on the iPad. And that's something that you can do. We talked about a library, you know, a library space, a cozy corner, reading nook, different supplies. So again, where are the pencils? Where are the glue sticks? Where are the scissors? If you have things organized and you have it in a space where they can access it, obviously age appropriately, right? But having these things in a space that they can access, now they become more independent. They, one, know where it's at, and they know where to get it when they need it. 2, they know how to put it away, and they know where it goes. So keeping those things in mind is really, really going to be helpful for you. A few more things. We have independent play items. So again, when you go to start making your schedule of like, okay, we're going to do our academics, here's your time for art, and while you're creating, I'm going to be working, right? Or while I'm recording a podcast, here is an activity that you can do completely independently, and I don't have to worry about you, right? So I have tons of different activities like that, like lacing games, or connecting blocks. Now the kids are older, so now it's like Legos in their room, you know, a whole bin of Legos. But when they were younger, it was these small shoebox bins of, here's an activity that you can play while I'm working on this. This is your quiet time. This is my quiet time. So making sure you're setting up your space like that and making sure they know the expectations. And you can say, listen, mommy is working right now, or I have to record and I need you to work on this quietly. And when I'm done, I will come see you. So keeping those things in mind. And of course, activities that need supervision, right? Like we were talking about, like if you have younger kids, paint, you're not going to want that down. Scissors, you're not going to want those things down. But you don't want to prevent your kids from using them, because when they do get a hold of them, that's, I believe, when the messes and when those accidents happen. Okay. Cutting your hair. I, as a child, cut my own hair. Why? I don't know. But as my kids were, exploring with scissors and practicing, we did it together. And when we weren't cutting, I put the scissors away. And then eventually they knew scissors are only for paper. And I continue to reiterate that. We only cut paper with scissors. That's it. We don't cut anything else with scissors. And, and then also telling them, when you go to the hair salon, that's where she cuts your hair. You can start having those conversations very early. I know that I did. And it definitely prevented any of those small mishaps, which I know they happen often. And I know they happen in an instant because kids are fast. I do totally know that. But trying to keep those things in mind. Well, my scissors are going to go up on this higher shelf, or they're going to go in a closet that they can't see. And just tell them, when you need something, you just ask me and we're going to get it out and we're going to do it together. So keeping things like that in mind, different activities that may need your supervision. And something also that we have is a game closet. And in that game closet, we have on one shelf, it's all games that they can access and they can get to, and they can play them anytime that they want because they're appropriate for them. And then in my game closet right now, we have a whole shelf with reading activities, reading, spelling, sight words, all of those things. There's different games there. So if they want to play those games, they certainly can, but that's more of our reading space. And then we have a math shelf as well. And then I think even a science one. And then there's adult games up higher, or games that they wouldn't get to, without assistance. So just trying to keep those things in mind as you are pulling your space together. And it's okay if it doesn't look like this. Your space is unique to your family and it can be totally different. But if these ideas were helpful, I would love to know that. So feel free to head over to the Home Education with Ease Facebook group and share which of these strategies are going to be helpful for you as you start the new year. And maybe some things that you are doing that are helpful for you for this year. So, or for things that you've done in the past that may be helpful for other moms. I would definitely love to just continue to chat with you about those things. And like I said, if you have any questions about any of the curriculum, any of the programs, any things that the collections, or just, hey, Christine, I really would love to chat with you about this. I would love to set up a call and make that happen. So definitely reach out to Christine at eduplaylearning.com. All of these are in the show notes below. Links for the Facebook group. There's also a form there that you can fill out. And by filling that form out, it just tells me a little bit more about your specific educational journey. And then we're able to kind of dive in and say, how can I help, right? Whether that is the activity kits, the curriculum that comes with the activity kits, or maybe it's a digital program, or the collections, or just a call to say, hey, I just need a little extra support, or even our membership that we have. So many ways to get connected. And I really just want to walk alongside you on your journey, wherever that is. So just know that I'm here to support you and guide you and just really be here for you, no matter what that looks like. But be sure, reach out, check those show notes, and stay tuned for next episode as I share all the things that we did during our Pittsburgh trip and our Tennessee trip, and how we turned all of those small moments into teaching moments. Thank you for tuning in to the Home Education with Ease podcast. I hope today's episode left you feeling empowered and ready to take the next steps on your home education journey. Your support means the world to me. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. For even more resources, be sure to join the free Facebook group, Home Education with Ease, and visit eduplaylearning.com to explore our programs and subscription kits. You can find the links and any other links mentioned in this episode in the show notes below. Remember, you're not alone. This community is here to support you every step of the way.